All right, well, good evening, Austin. How are you?
I'm doing good.
That's great. Today, I'm going to be teaching you the basics of playing the viola. We're going to go through some posture and positioning. We'll go through pizzicato. We'll work on some bowing as well. So we got a lot to cover today. So we're going to start by just briefly going over the important parts of the viola. These pegs that you see here are used for major tuning issues. If you have a string that's severely out of tune, you will very gently move these to adjust the tuning. Move it even just a slight amount can change the tuning big time. We've got the fingerboard. This is where all your fingers will go to change the pitches on the strings. You got the F holes here. These are what is going to create the resonance of the instrument. It's very important that when you play, you keep the sound between the F holes here to get a good sound. You've got the bridge. Positioning of the bridge is important for getting a good sound out of the strings. You've got the chin rest. The chin rest is obviously, as its name implies, goes underneath your chin. You have fine tuners here. These are when you have minor intonation problems. You can adjust these to change the pitches slightly. So we also have the bow here, and there are a few parts of the bow that you need to know as well. These are the bow hairs that you see here. Do you know what the bow hairs are made of?
Horse hairs.
Exactly, horse hairs. They are very delicate, so if at all possible, avoid touching them with your hands if you can avoid it at all. The frog here at the end of the bow, that's where you're really going to grip it, and we'll go over the grip in a little while. Adjusting screw will tighten the bow hairs. This is important as you want your bow to be fairly tight, the strings on the bow to be tight to give you a proper sound on the viola. Unfortunately, my bow is currently broken and won't tighten at all, so we'll just have to deal with that. So now that we've gone over the parts of the viola and the bow that you need to know about, we're going to go over positioning of the instrument. Now, the most important thing when you go to play an instrument is to remember to have correct posture. So in order to get you into the proper posture, we're going to try a little activity. I want you to pretend that you are a marionette puppet. You've got strings attached to your head, you got them attached to your shoulders, and what's going to happen is the puppeteer is going to just kind of collapse you. So you're going to kind of bend over, pretend like all your strings are loose, and now the puppeteer is going to tighten those strings up, raise you up. If you're in the proper position, you should feel like that string that's attached to your head is pointing straight up. That is sort of the posture that you want when playing the viola. It's important to keep your feet flat on the floor. You want to point them just a little bit out rather than like straight. A little bit of an angle, and that'll help. You could also consider tilting your entire body over a little bit so that when you have the viola, you can still face the music. Now, it's also important to consider the position of the viola itself. So how we're going to start is you're going to hold the viola by the shoulder here with your left hand. Bring it up. Place the chin rest under your chin. Then, with your left hand, you're going to move it up to the fingerboard. You want your fingers arching over these finger tapes here. Those are where you're going to be putting your fingers down in a little while. Your thumb, you want it vertically up like this. You don't want it angling out like that. That causes a little bit of tension in the wrist. So it's important to keep that thumb vertical. So you want to try that right now? Just put the viola in the correct position. All right, let's see. Should be a very natural position. I would move the chin rest under a little bit more. It might be a little awkward at first, but you'll get used to it. Try to keep your thumb a little bit closer there. There you go. And you can move it up a little if you need to, if it's more comfortable for a grip. So not exactly the most natural grip. I can go ahead and take the viola back. But the longer you play viola, the more you'll get used to it. So we went over sitting position. We also need to go over standing position, because there might be times if you're playing a concerto or something where you'll be called to stand and play. So you can stay seated for now if you just want to turn around and look at me. Here's how I see is the best way to learn how to stand and play viola. So what you want to do is you want to put your left foot out a little bit, hold the viola out like this, holding the shoulder, flip the viola, bring it up to the chin, fingers in place, and you're ready to play. So now that we've gone over positioning of the instrument, we can finally begin to learn to play some notes. So we're going to start with pizzicato now. Do you know what pizzicato is?
Like staccato, short.
Short, and how do you play pizzicato?
With your finger.
With your finger, right. You will not be using the bow. So when you play pizzicato, you want the thumb of your right hand to go here at the corner of the bridge. You're going to pluck with your index finger, your right index finger. And you remember how I told you to play in between the F holes? When we're playing pizzicato, we actually want to keep the finger above the F holes. The reason being that Rawson, which we'll go over later, gets on the strings here is important for the sound. And by putting your fingers here, it can mess up the amount of Rawson there and mess up the sound quality. So you want to pluck above the strings. Alright, so I'm going to have you get into position for pizzicato. And I want you to pluck the lowest string without any fingers. That'll be the first string. There you go. That is the C string. Now go ahead and pluck the string next to it. That is our G string. Pluck the one next to that. That is our D string. And pluck the last string. You've got the A string. Now, what do you notice about the intervals of these strings?
They're in perfect intervals.
Yeah, perfect fifths, each one. So, easy way to remember that is just remembering the intervals. All right, if you want to hand the viola back to me. So now that we can pizzicato on the open strings, we're going to learn about finger positioning. Now you see these gold tapes that we have on the viola. These are finger tapes. They will help you as a beginner to make sure that your finger's in the right place. The longer you play, the less you'll need the tape, so eventually we'll be able to remove them and you'll be able to play without them. So we're just going to focus on your first finger and playing on this first finger tape. So if we start on a C string and place our first finger down firmly onto the tape, we get an interval of one step. So we go from a C to a D. So let's have you pizzicato once again. I want you to start on the C string and then place that first finger down and play a D. There you go. All right, now move on to the next string. We're going to move to the G string. I'm going to play a G, then place the finger down to play an A. There you go. Moving on to the next string. I'm going to start with the D, then put a finger down to play an E. And then the final string, start on the open A, and then put the finger down to play a B. Excellent. Great job. All right, if you want to hand the viola back to me, we're going to take a break from pizzicato. We're going to move on to the bow for a minute. Now, you know it's kind of awkward holding the viola, and it's going to be the same for the bow string. It's going to take some getting used to. But don't be too worried about it for now. I'm going to grab a pencil really fast, and I'm going to have you practice the bow hold on a pencil while I demonstrate using the bow. All right. So the bow hold. Something that I like to think about is the position of the fingers. Your ring finger and middle finger of your right hand are going to be, think about them like being glued together. You're going to stick them together. They're always going to be just like that. The other fingers are kind of be apart from each other. All right. So we're going to start with the thumb. The thumb, you don't really have it on your pencil there, but it's going to be stuck in the ferrule of the frog, the mouth of the frog, as I like to call it. Stick it right in there. You want it to kind of bow. Make sure it's not bent like that, more bowed like that. Your middle and ring finger, which I said are glued together, those are going to go here at what we call the eye of the frog. There's no eye here. Some bows will have a little circle there to show you where those fingers go. You just place them right in this middle there. Your index finger is going to wrap around. Because you have a bigger hand, you might have to move your finger up a little bit more. You just kind of want to wrap it around there. And the pinky, which is actually the most important part of this bow grip, is going to go on top of the bow. It's going to be kind of the balancing point of the bow. It's going to keep that bow from falling down. Now what's important, and again, you don't have it on the pencil, but you want the pinky to come before the adjusting screw. You don't want the pinky on the adjusting screw like that. I want to move it just a little bit in front of it. So if you want to practice it with the pencil really fast, just try to get a feel for what it's like, and we'll quickly switch it, and I'll give you the bow. Yeah, there you go. You got that pinky on top. That's very important. All right, so I'm going to take the pencil. You're going to take the bow. So start with the thumb. Put the thumb in there. All right. Your ring and index finger, your ring finger. Now remember to get that pinky up on top. To balance it, it's going to feel really awkward when you're first beginning. But yes, that is exactly how you want it to look like. All right, so we're going to take a break from the bow, and we're going to look at the alto clef staff, which you may not be too familiar with. You're probably more familiar with treble clef, which is okay. So the alto clef, you'll notice we have this little, I don't know what you want to call it. It looks sort of like a B without the line on it, but it's kind of, maybe like a 3 is a better way of looking at it. Anyway, the center of the 3 shows where middle C is going to be. So if you look at this clef here, you got that little indent. That line, the third line on the staff, is middle C. So if you go to the space above it, you have the D. Go to the line above that, you have E, and so on. So I'm going to give you a position on the staff, and you tell me what note it is. So let's try, we'll start easy. Third line.
Like the third line up.
Third line of the staff. Yeah.
C.
There you go. All right, let's try the space above that.
D.
D. Okay, let's try the space below middle C.
B.
B. All right, now if I ask you, what is the note on the top line of the staff?
That is G.
Good. So you got a basic concept of how the alto clef works, and we'll work more on that in a future lesson. So now that we've worked on alto clef a little bit, I say we get to some bowing, because I'm sure you're ready to get to playing again. So if you're going to give me the bow really fast, and I'll demonstrate. Get the bow into position. Alright, so important things when bowing is to keep the bow in between the F holes again, in between like where the bridge and the fingerboard is. Something that's crucial when bowing is the elbow. You want, when you're bowing, you want to sort of swing your arm out. If you have too much movement in your like shoulder or elbow, what will end up happening is the bow starts to move, and then you get a not so great sound. So important to keep that elbow in place and let your forearm do all the movements. So I'm going to give you the viola again. Yeah, and there's the bow. And let's have you play, let's have you start on the D string, which is the 3rd string. Just an open D, and just try bowing a few times. You're getting a nice sound. There you go. Great. All right, let's try playing on the A string now. You're going to have to angle your bow a little bit. The A string will be the top string. Yep. You have to angle your bow a little bit differently to make sure you're playing on that string. Great. All right. So now comes the real challenge. We're going to put a couple of the things that we've learned to the test. We're going to start on the D string. Now, when you're playing quarter notes, D, E, D, E. So you're just going to alternate that finger, and you're going to be playing with the bow. So you're going to do quarter notes, D, E, D, E. There you go. Something that's important to consider is when you bow, you're going to start with a down bow. So there are 2 types of bowing. You have the up bow and the down bow. Down bow is when you move the bow from your left to the right, and up bowing is from the right to the left. So you're going to start with the down bow. Bom, 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 bom. Go ahead and try it again. There you go. All right, now let's try the A string. You're going to play A, B, A, B in quarter notes. Good. All right, you want to hand the viola back to me. We're just about done for this lesson. When you're bowing, we won't correct this for now. We'll work on it in a future lesson. You don't need to remove the bow every time you're finished with the note. Because when you stop the bow, the sound stops as well. You can still keep that bow on there and move it back up to produce a different note. So you get. But really, great work, especially for your first time playing viola. So the last thing that we need to cover today is taking care of the bow. I already mentioned how it's important to tighten your bow before you play. When you're done playing, you also need to loosen it. So with the adjusting screw, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, you've heard that, I'm sure, plenty of times before. So turn the adjusting screw to the right to tighten it, and to loosen it, turn it to the left. Now the last thing is we need to rosin the bow. Rosin is what allows the bow hairs to produce the nice quality that you would get on a stringed instrument. Now to get the rosin on the bow, you notice it's kind of hard. Kind of looks like a hard candy of some sort. So to get it onto your bow, you need to scratch a little bit of it off. So I usually use the adjusting screw. I'll just scratch a little bit. You don't need to do it too much though. Once you scratch it a bit, just run the bow hairs through. This is also a great way to practice your bowing technique. You can pretend this is where the strings are. You practice running it through. So you want to try running through it a few times?
You want me to?
Go ahead and scratch it a little bit. Yep, nice and smooth, just like that. Focus on moving the bow rather than the Rawson. There you go. Alright, I think that is one good looking bow now. Thank you so much for your time. I look forward to having a future lesson with you at some point, and I will leave you to whatever it is